Hi, Carol. Ah, how are you today? You're muted. You're muted, Carol.
I'm trying to change my background
Oh,
and it doesn't come up on my screen.
oh.
So I just have video. I don't think I go to video.
Do you have a video that you want to use as a background?
I just want to use a regular background this time and it's not coming up. I don't understand why sometimes it does. Maybe it's my view. I don't know.
Yeah, when you find out, let me know.
Well, I've been able to do it before, but it isn't giving me a choice. I'm so dark on this.
Yeah, I see that. Oh, there you go. There's
I
more
can
light.
turn it, but I want to change the background. Yeah, that's better. But I want to change the background, darn it. So Donna, are you still having that social Zoom on Wednesday?
No, I haven't. I didn't do it for the last 2 weeks. I'm thinking maybe to make it once a month.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, because it got to be like too much to have to prepare.
Yeah.
And I was on Zoom way too much, and then there was a class that I wanted to take. So, yeah. So. Hi, Dorothy.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
I was muted. Did you join the class?
Which class?
The perfume of silence.
Not yet. You know why? Because I was preparing this class up until 12:30 today.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
That's the thing. I always tell myself I'm going to be done. I'm going to have it all ready and prepared by Friday. And then I go, well, geez, maybe if I should check out a research on this one and learn a little bit more about that. And then I end up just partly because I don't like organizing things at all. And I love learning. So if I can do that, it's part of, I think it's a procrastination, I think
I'm good at that.
Pardon me?
I'm good at procrastination.
Yeah. So then it comes. It's Tuesday morning, and okay, total focus. That's all you can do is do your prep. And
It was a really good class. It was well worth it.
oh, the one from last week. Yeah. Oh, the one today. Oh,
The one today, right?
what'd you learn?
Well, they're talking about the body and how the body is not really there. It's just an illusion. And how you're the only one in the universe and the rest of it is all illusion. So they're talking about consciousness and presence, whatever. I can't hear you.
The more I think you immerse yourself in there, in that kind, the more you begin to get more of a sense of that oneness with it all and identify with consciousness as opposed to our separateness. Yeah.
Right.
But it takes a while.
I've been working on it for so long that it's easier to understand than it would have been in the beginning.
Yeah, I think so. I think part of the Mondo Zen process is for doing that too, as a way to get rid of some of the old beliefs.
And then you can read about it, but until you really feel it, it doesn't really exist.
Exactly.
So, and I'm feeling it, so that's good.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. That's partly because of the amount of meditation I think you've done, and really paying attention to self.
Yeah, it helps.
And the feelings and the body, and yeah. So, well, hi there, Colin and Kit and Carol, Holly. Oh, look at that beautiful background. What a good idea.
I figured out how to get there.
Oh,
Wonderful.
Zickas.
Well, we're gonna miss 3 people today. Jock said he had another. I forgot some organization that he had to work for. Who else? Anne said that her puppy is at. Hi, Aline. Her puppy is at the vet, so she's got to be there with it. And then one more. Oh, Maureen. She can't make it either. So we're missing 3 people today. But we've got 9. Hi, Lisa. Welcome, welcome.
Hi, Donna. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh,
Hi, Lisa.
that's funny because Ginny and Dennis, I know, logged in earlier, but then they're not here now. So go figure. Anyway,
Donna, did you get my text?
I did not.
Okay. I'm expecting a phone call from a friend of mine who is scheduled to start chemo tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
And if he calls while this is going on, I promise that I will.
Okay.
Colin, I promise.
It's okay. I've learned how to do that. I've learned how to turn off other people's, as the host, to turn off other people's not only voice, but also camera. So, yeah. So in case you forget, not to worry. But anyway, yes. So, and good. I'm glad Ginny and Dennis are here. Hi there.
Hi.
So, okay. Well, we're missing 3 people, so we'll just go ahead and start.
Hey, Donna.
Hey, what?
While you're waiting, Dennis just read something and he tried to send it to you. Tell him what you read.
Well, it was a link to the site on the University of Wisconsin athletics, how they're the only team in the nation, the only university in the entire nation that has a full-time sports mindfulness person.
Oh my
So,
heavens. Wow.
yeah, so I sent you a link to it, and it's
Thank you.
hopefully you can open it and
Yeah.
check it out, because it's pretty interesting how their volleyball teams, all their sports teams are doing it, and it's they think they're going to be way ahead of the game, and when it comes to athletics and
Oh,
stuff.
this will be interesting to watch. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
You probably will see it because we got it on the Center for Healthy Minds. That
Oh, okay. Yep.
email.
Yeah, it was on that. So
Yeah.
What team was it?
Matt, the Badgers.
Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin.
If you look up on the Center for Healthy Minds out of Madison, it was in today's email.
Yeah, and if you guys, they have an app, a free app for meditation too, that you can use. So if you go to that website, Center for
Yeah.
Healthy Minds.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a free app that you can use for your phone and use to a mindfulness app, and they give you instructions and guided meditation. So
Awesome.
yeah, really. So let's see. So today, this is kind of part 4 of calming a busy mind, and because a happy mind is more likely to stay, we'll kind of continue with the talk that we did about last week about the 4 faces of love, which of course bring happiness. Since last week we talked about the different kinds of love, like there was love, loving kindness, and compassion, and then empathetic or appreciative joy, and then equanimity. Those are the 4. Last week we focused on appreciative joy and empathetic joy. Did anybody get to practice that this week?
I don't know that I actually practiced it.
Okay.
It's been a good week. What can I say?
Good.
That's great. Yeah.
Well, you know, Donna, I got challenged here
Okay.
with this one the past week because, well, I'm a newer grandmother. My grandson is 16 months. They live about a half hour. And their mom and dad, who's my son and his wife, are very protective. especially with COVID. It's probably been a month since Christmas since I see my grandson, and just got to see him Sunday, first time a month, and they're half hour away. And I tried to tell them I don't have COVID, but it really didn't seem to matter. It was like a moratorium on visits, even though I offered to be in the street and wave from the car, and that didn't fly. But a very good friend of mine also has a granddaughter, a little bit younger than mine, and he gets to see her every day, and hold her for hours and play, and have this wonderful experience, and shares it with me, which is nice. But in the moment, I'm feeling like, wow, that's 30 more times in the past month that he was able to hold and see his grandchild that I was able to. So I was empathetically, oh, I'm great. I'm so happy for you.
Yes.
There was a little part of me that's like, I'm not so happy for me,
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I mean, I did reflect about the empathetic love and, put it out there. And, it's just a little challenge. That's all. I mean, it's
and that's
part of life.
the important piece is that you were aware of that part of you that didn't, and yet there was the aspiration to have empathic joy for your friend. So that's the only place we can start at.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And you know what, Lisa?
Yeah.
Lisa, we've been in that situation for 18 years, and we have two sons, and one, it's unbelievable how much we get a part of their lives, the other we don't. So I was going to tell you, it hurts like hell.
Yes, it does.
And acknowledge that, and don't minimize it. It's hurtful, and it's hard not to. People still say, oh, did you see Jason at Christmas? And did he get you anything? And oh, the girls are growing, and we don't hardly see them. And I don't know, I guess I'm not doing very well because it's been going on 16 years and it still hurts me horrendously.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Sometimes I think, most people have this, it looks like this, perfect life with the perfect family and the,
No,
like,
we haven't been to one of their birthday parties or holidays. They don't come home. In fact, I'm going to go see a counselor about it because it still hurts as bad as it did from day one.
Yeah, good for you. Good.
Yeah.
Because it's important to move through that because you don't want it hurting you.
Oh, it hurts every time.
Yeah. Well, today we're going to talk about equanimity too. Hopefully we can get to that part of being able to be with life's ups and downs in a balanced way. So we'll get to that. Anybody else want to say something about empathic joy or appreciative joy? Trying it out. Sounds like, Aline, you you were able to appreciate your week though. So.
Well, yes. And I actually I wasn't sure I was going to make it to this. I've spent most of the day making a root veggie and bean soup,
Yum.
as I mentioned, for this friend who's starting tomorrow. So
that's wonderful.
I suppose that's empathetic joy.
And compassion. I would say it's a compassionate act. Yeah. Wonderful. So, all right. What I'd like to do, let me see. Okay, so when we were talking about joy and the state of being able to, let's say, sustain happiness, that's what came up last week. So I finally found the scales where they were able to show test where you can test yourself to see just how self-centered or how selfless you are. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But I also wanted to kind of start with some of the basics, as I like each week to give, just to go back and give a little bit of the basics. And I got a little bit more understanding about sitting and why in Zen that you sit the way you sit, which is to have the spine straight, and the idea of sitting without moving. And what I didn't realize, and I guess I knew a while back, but I had totally forgotten, that one of the ways to keep the mind calm is to keep the body from moving. What that does is tell the nervous system that we're safe, so then the mind doesn't have to scan the environment for a threat. So then if we're feeling safe, that allows us to go deeper, okay, and get more peaceful. So that's one way to calm the mind. And also, if the body's moving, then the mind is likely to be moving. Yeah. So something to watch in yourself. When you're moving, notice what's happening to your mind. And maybe ask yourself, if I move while I'm meditating, where's my mind? Just ask that question, where'd my mind go? So the idea of sitting in formal meditation, unmoving like a mountain. So what I'd like to do is maybe finish up some of those instructions, and we'll do a guided meditation, and then also a clearing the space, which I know Anne likes, but she's not here, but that's all right. Lisa, you haven't had the experience of it, and so I think it's similar to sweeping the mind out, as you've brought up before.
Yeah.
So yeah. So we'll start with sitting instructions, and I'll kind of go into them while we sit, and then we'll go to a little bit of clearing the space. And then after that, we'll have a video on happiness, a short video. So why don't we get into a comfortable position, and then bring the attention to the body, and maybe turn off your what do I want to say? Why can't I? Microphone.
Yeah. No mic.
Yeah. And so that we have no background noise. And take a good deep breath. And as you're sitting, what you want is to have the hips higher than the knees, if you can do that. Okay. The hips higher than the knees. And imagine a string coming from the top of the head, pulling the head up, right from this crown. And then tuck the chin in just a little bit, and that helps to relax the back of the neck. So the hips are over the knees and the shoulders are over the hips. The hands are relaxed, wherever it feels comfortable to place them. If you're on the arms of a chair or on your lap. And to place them in a position that helps you to maintain an upright, alert yet relaxed position. Now in Zen, the eyes are asked to be open. With the eyes open, and then the gaze is downward towards the floor. The idea of having the eyes open, it helps to keep us grounded in the present. It also helps to keep us from falling asleep. Keeps us awake. And when the eyes are closed, it's easier for the mind to make mental images. So when the eyes are open, we just notice what happens and what the eyes are doing. We notice how they grasp whatever they focus on. So the idea is to have the eyelids sort of half lowered and the eyes being neither fully open nor shut, so that they're neither distracted or turning away from external stimuli. And you can allow the eyes to go out of focus, and that helps to calm the mind a bit too. Sort of the idea of being able to see everything at once, and yet you're not focused on anything. And that takes a little practice. And once you've found that position that allows you to be upright, alert, and relaxed, then ask yourself, is there anything between me and feeling really good right now? And whatever comes into your attention, just ask it if it's okay to set it aside for now. And if it keeps coming back and wanting your attention, you may want to stop and write it down or just give it a label and promise it that you'll come back to it again later. And then you can ask that question again. Is there anything between me and feeling really good right now? It's kind of like a happiness check. So we're moving everything out that's in the way. Just setting aside and not so much turning away from it, but turning away from the concern for it. You may want to imagine setting it on a shelf in the room, or it may feel more comfortable if you set it outside the window, outside the room. So really getting a sense of the right space between you and whatever is between you and feeling really good right now. And each time something comes in, setting it aside. You can imagine even setting them down in some luggage in front of you and giving each one a number. Just keeping with that process, setting aside anything that wants your attention right now. And once you have about 10 or 11 things, notice how it feels to clear a space in the mind, as if you walked into a room and pushed all the furniture aside so you could sit down in the middle and have space. Right now, we're walking into the mind, just pushing everything to the side, clearing a space. And if you notice that there's still perhaps a background feeling, a sort of always rushing kind of feeling, or always having to finish the to-do list, or always feeling a little gray or clouds. If you notice that, see if you can set that background feeling aside also. And once you're able to do that, to just take a few moments to sit and enjoy that clear space. For some people, it's more like silence or rest, whatever word works for you. Just enjoy that space. And in a moment, I'll ring the bell to bring this meditation to an end. So, did anybody find a clear space? Yeah, Ginny? It's really good to know that it's possible, even if you can't do it now, that it is possible after a little bit of practice.
Donna,
Yeah.
what helps me, and I think you taught us this, to clear that space. I mean, I have to close my eyes, but I literally imagine a broom in my head.
Ah.
I sweep all a space. Did
Ah.
you? Maybe I learned that in Mondo Zen.
Yeah, not me. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
that's how I do it. I clear the space.
Oh, that's great.
Sweep it.
I sweep it.
Sweep it out. Sweep mind. Yes, that does come from Mondo Zen. Sweeping.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Yeah, it's good to think of images that work for you in terms of cleaning and clearing. Okay, so also before I end about the sitting, I found an article at the Bar Center for Buddhist Studies. And I'll just read this short paragraph that they describe about sitting zazen, which means sitting in meditation. This is more of Soto Zen, not the Rinzai Zen that I studied. Anyway, it says, the body does not move in zazen posture. The mouth is closed and does not speak. The mind does not seek to become Buddha. Now, becoming Buddha simply means, Buddha means awake mind, okay? So the mind does not seek to become awake, but instead stops the mental activities of thinking, willing, and consciousness by removing all signs of meaning and all signs of an unenlightened being from our legs, hands, mouth, and mind, which ordinarily act on behalf of our deluded human interests. By putting the awake mind or Buddha seal on them, we place them in the service of our Buddha nature. In other words, when our body mind acts as a Buddha, it is transformed into the body mind of a Buddha. A little more poetic than I would share. And also, if you want more instructions on the different kinds of chairs and stuff to use, my friend Rachel Denise Leon has a video where she describes how to sit zazen and the different kinds of chairs that you'll cushions that you can use. So as soon as I'm done with this, I will put this class up on YouTube and with all the references right under it, making it a lot easier for you to find. Okay. Okay. So as we continue now to look at our how to calm a busy mind, and since a happy mind is more likely to stay where we put it, I thought we should look at this video that I kind of promised you last week by Emiliana Simmons, is her last name? Thomas Simmons. She teaches the science of mindfulness at UC Berkeley. Let me make this a little bigger. There. And we'll stop at 3 minutes. I think it's an 8-minute, but we're going to stop at 3 minutes. I really like the way her perspective on talking about what happiness is and what gets in the way of it.
So we just finished discussing some of the ideas from Sonia Lubomirsky's video about what kinds of things actually determine happiness. And we're going to shift now to another dialogue, which is around what do we know actually makes it harder for us to be happy. In an earlier video, we talked about how there were some misconceptions about happiness, right? This idea that happiness equals feeling pleasure all the time, in every place, and we've acknowledged that that's not a realistic or helpful way to think about or define happiness. We've also noted the idea that striving for happiness or expecting pleasure and happiness all the time can be counterproductive. And we've landed on the more nuanced notion that happiness has a lot more to do with meaning and engagement with other people and contributing to something outside of yourself, what we might call the greater good. Now I want to talk about some of the mental habits, some of the ways that we think that make it actually hard for us to pursue or understand or think about happiness in a constructive way. These are some of the reflexes that we have that lead us astray or present obstacles in the pursuit of happiness. First, I want to touch on an idea that Sonia brought up in an earlier video called hedonic adaptation. Hedonic adaptation is essentially a fancy word for getting used to things. So when we think about happiness as satisfying a pertinent need, maybe I really am hankering for some chocolate and somebody gives me some chocolate, and in that moment that I had the hankering, it's super satisfying, and then somebody else gives me some chocolate, and then another person sort of walks up and hands me a box, and by the fifth or sixth offering, the chocolate is not so good. Right? I'm no longer feeling pleasure from that initial thing that I really wanted. This is an example of hedonic adaptation. And when we think about happiness as pleasure or always having our needs met or trying to feel pleasure over and over again, when our needs are met, we're bound to an endless pursuit. If you think about happiness in the context of people pursuing material goods, so you have one car, you're super happy with it, makes you feel good, but then you look next door and your neighbors have a fancier car, so you need the next fancy car, and then you actually learn that someone has a boat, and then you need a boat, and again, you see what's happening. You're going up in happiness, but then adapting, going up in happiness and then adapting. And once again, there is no end to that pursuit. So knowing that's how we function is helpful as we think about how to really pursue happiness in a more meaningful way.
Okay. If you guys want to follow up on, they have a free class online, The Science of Happiness at UC Berkeley. It's a whole college course. I took it. It's a lot of stuff. And they keep updating it, which is really nice. So it's really fun to be learning about happiness, though.
You said that was UC Berkeley?
Correct. Yep. And if you just Google the science, I'll put that up on the YouTube thing too. But if you just Google Science of Happiness, UC Berkeley, you'll find it. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. The question is then, how do we find lasting happiness? Right? If we can't consider that, and I really like that idea, is to keep remembering about hedonic adaptation, and that's hedonism on the one end, and then eudaimonia or hedonic on one end, and eudaimonia or eudaimonia anyway on the other end. So that, and eudaimonia is about finding our happiness through meaning. Okay. So how do we find lasting happiness? Well, meaning is a big part of it. And it's also the way we perceive ourselves, starting with ourselves, and then the world. So Mathiew Ricard, and his name is Michael Dambrun. But anyway, Mathiew Ricard, the two of them wrote this book, a paper on, and started this theory comparing selflessness and self-centeredness and their relationship to happiness. And Mathiew Ricard, if some of you might remember his name, he was one of the first people, or the first person, where they tested his brain and the pleasure centers of his brain, and they the pleasure centers went off the charts compared to anybody else they'd ever tested before. Because he had meditated for, I don't know, 30 or 40,000 hours or something like that. They've tested other people and other people have, but he was the first man and was dubbed the happiest man in the world. And he was on the front page of the Time magazine a few years back. So anyway, he's focused on happiness and what helps lasting happiness. So comparing self-centeredness to selflessness. And so the way they describe self-centeredness is the person has the belief that they are permanent, stable unity, okay? That they're independent, separate, and that happiness depends on getting what they want. In other words, if I get what I want, I'm happy. If I don't, I'm not happy. Okay. And also they say that those people, the qualities of those people are to have afflictive emotions. Afflictive because it affects their well-being. Selflessness, on the other hand, is the belief in an impermanent self. Although there's kind of a continuum there of an impermanent self, but eventually it's the person is perceived as a continuum of based on moment-to-moment experiences. So a person who is selfless will have qualities of altruism, harmony, calmness, and their theory is that people who function psychologically as selfless, I see Aline, Professor Laura Santos, she's done something on that, yes? Let's see. Oh, in the Happiness Lab, yeah, thank you. So that people who are selfless, their theory is that they experience authentic and durable happiness or lasting happiness, which is kind of leaning in the direction of more equanimity, of allowing whatever's happening to not overwhelm them, no clinging and no pushing away. It's just recognizing what's coming, what is accepting the reality. Yes, Ginny.
What I've read, and maybe it was with, I don't know where all, but I've heard it many, many times, the definition of happiness is no attachment, which is what I hear you saying.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Unattachment, that you can't have true happiness if you have attachment to anything.
Right, getting what you
right?
want. Or not getting what you don't want, yeah. So I'll quote, he said, what Ricard says is that once selflessness has taken root, that the state of mind linked with eudaimonia pervades in every experience of life. And thus it is likely that this way of functioning will be self-reinforcing. Okay,
Question,
so go ahead.
question.
Yep.
So piggybacking on what Ginny just said, attachments. What about attachments to people?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like no attachment though. It's like no attachment in terms of wanting them to be or do anything you want them to be or do.
Okay.
Okay.
That's exactly, and that's for Lisa too, but I still struggle with that attachment to grandkids or my sons, that the son I don't see, the grandkids, that's an attachment, and it continues to cause me pain. And I try to think, well, okay, I'm not attached to it, and it's I don't know, that's where I'm stuck.
Yeah.
I think I don't know, that's why I'm going to counseling, because I don't know how not to crave grandkids being around.
He is recognizing also to feel the craving, feel how that feels in your body. Okay, like
horrible.
It hurts horrendous, right? And then what's the next step? Self-compassion. To be kind. It's going to be okay, honey. Do whatever you can to bring however a friend would, whatever you would do for a friend who was having the same problem. If you can imagine that, then you can do that for yourself.
Dennis just added, he left out an important part, which you did, which I always leave out. Dennis goes, acknowledge it and let it go. It's not that easy. Right. The self-compassion part is what I I forget to do.
Yeah, because that allows you then to let it go, because now you've brought kindness to yourself.
That's a good point. I got to remember that.
Yeah.
You've given yourself freedom too.
Yeah.
Freedom of the attachment.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Or freedom from it. Yeah.
Right.
So, and you know, it totally changed my life in terms of, so what do I do now? And as soon as I go, what am I going to do now? I feel awful. Oh, be kind to myself. That, you know, it becomes a habit. If you do it enough, it becomes a habit.
Right. So it's really based on no expectations.
Right. Exactly.
Putting it.
Yeah. Yep. You got it. Yeah.
I know a long time ago, a counselor told me, like 16 years ago, when we started this whole journey with my one son, it's unrealistic to have any expectations from him.
Mm-hmm.
That, I thought at the time, I thought, you're crazy. You know, you don't know what you're talking about. You know, I expect people to treat me with respect, and I expect my son to remember my birthday, and I expect. I think it's really hard not to have any expectations, but I know when you do, you're going to get hurt.
Yeah. Right. So isn't that good that you know that? So then you're like, okay, I guess I better stop.
I must be a slow learner.
No, you haven't been doing this that long, Ginny. So, you know, yeah, give yourself a break.
I'll be kind to myself.
Yeah. So what's interesting is that this thing about selflessness and self-centeredness, that there are actually people that came after to try to test out their theory. And then so they have all these different scales, and they ask people, you know, questions. So you can go online and test yourself to find out if, you know, if you're, how selfless you are or how self-centered you are. Like they ask questions for the self-centeredness, my level of serenity, and they would rate this. My level of serenity is very changeable, or my level of happiness is rather unstable, sometimes high, sometimes low. And another question was, I have times when I swing from moments of total bliss to much less satisfying moments. Okay, so that would be some of the examples of the questions they would ask. And then on the selflessness, they would ask questions like, at this moment, I'm feeling harmony with myself. Or at this moment, I'm feeling harmony with others. And another one would be, at this moment, I feel unity with everything. So, and then you would rate yourself, you know, 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or whatever. So they had several different scales. So yes, Ginny.
Everything I read about Thich Nhat Hanh, he talks about finding true peace and serenity in nature. And I was just going to add, probably the only time I really just feel totally at peace and I don't have any hurting or attachment or whatever is being like on a beach in Lake Superior or out in the woods. Then I can feel peace. And I know Thich Nhat Hanh is always saying that nature is what, I don't know if I'm saying it right, Donna, but it's a good place to be, to feel peace and that we're at one with nature. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm saying it right.
I think it depends on the person too, because people who are brought up in the city are not comfortable in the woods. Okay, so it really depends on what brings you peace. Yeah. So, and that's the key is like, go out and find what gives you peace. And experiment. If you don't know, then experiment. But sitting and practicing meditation is one way. But the problem is that when you first start, all the stuff you didn't want to think about is going to come up in your mind. So that's why I think starting with guided meditations is often really the best avenue, because then it kind of tells your mind what to do. You have something to place your mind on. And then though, spending some time to just practice, focusing on bringing your mind back to the present moment. And that you can practice when you're washing the dishes or sweeping the floor, you know, keeping your mind on exactly what you're doing. And it actually makes the task more pleasurable if we're 100% focused on it. As I quoted Dorothy last week, that we're in the now, we feel alive. It's not boring. So Okay, so just the conclusions that these studies that they said is that overall we found, what they say is we found a large evidence that at a given point in time, experienced happiness was significantly and positively related to both experienced selflessness and harmony. So that when people are more selfless, they're really wanting to practice making all the elements around them, including themselves, feel more harmonious. So. Again, so I will put the scales up and on YouTube afterwards, okay? So how do we develop and practice selflessness? We're talking about some of that now. And I will be then quoting Thich Nhat Hanh, as a matter of fact, because he talks about, it's really about recognizing our interdependence. That's one of the ways. Of course, practicing those 4 faces of love will also be helpful. Thich Nhat Hanh, that dissolving the illusion of being separate or separateness, that's one of the cores of teachings, of his teachings anyway. And for example, in one of his talks with children, he describes his tea in this way. You look into the sky and you see a beautiful cloud. The cloud has become the rain. And when you drink your tea, you can see your cloud. My favorite, though, is a quote from Einstein. In fact, this was a note that he wrote to Rabbi Robert Marcus, who was grieving the loss of his son to polio. And as Einstein said, you probably have all heard this, but it bears repeating over and over. A human being is part of the whole world, called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, she experiences herself, thoughts and feelings as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of consciousness. The striving to free oneself from this delusion is the one issue of true religion. Not to nourish the delusion, but to try to overcome it is the way to reach the attainable measure of peace of mind. Those of you who have downloaded the Sutra book, you'll find that quote in there. If you go to the Hollow Bones website, you can download their Sutra book. Or I think if you look up Einstein quotes and universe, you probably find it too, and interdependence, yeah. So how do we develop selflessness? Recognizing our interdependence and practicing the 4 faces of love, which we'll be spending some time on over the next couple of weeks too. And so it's important to remind ourselves also when we're practicing these faces of love to hold that positivity in our minds and in our awareness for at least 10 to 20 seconds so that it helps it move from the short-term memory into the long-term memory. And that way we change our brain, okay? And then it becomes more likely to become sustainable. Okay. And as the Buddha says, think not lightly of good. It will come to me. Saying it will not come to me. Drop by drop is the water pot filled. Likewise, the wise one gathering little by little fills oneself with good. Sweet. Look at the time. Okay. So for many of us, it comes as a sort of a pleasant surprise that it's actually possible to cultivate joy. Just consider, and there's all flavors of joy. Just consider, I was thinking about like touch, just a single second of a touch. And even if you touch yourself, your face, like, however, for me, just putting a gentle touch on my face just feels so good. And then the joys of novelty, the joys of recognizing our own competency. It's sort of like looking for, and in fact, I've mentioned this before, but Chad Man Tang, who devoted a whole book to cultivating joy on demand, and he sets out often humorously, which makes the book delightful, to instruct and I'll read, to instruct and encourage readers that except for experiences of tragedy, like the loss of a loved one or the loss of a job, we really can experience joy on demand. Yes, we can. And even in the midst of tragedy, it's healthy to take breaks for a moment of levity, even in the midst. Yeah. So he also goes on to say that the cultivation of joy not only increases our baseline happiness, but it also helps us meet the struggles of life with strength and compassion. So indirectly, we practice cultivating joy. Loving kindness meditation, even compassion meditation are two of the ways. Okay, so equanimity is the fourth face of love. And it is said to keep the other three faces of love in check. In other words, practicing equanimity helps us not to get overwhelmed or not to cling or not to be attached, as we said before. So our quest for happiness, selflessness is also correlated with equanimity. All right. So the Wikipedia defines equanimity as having an even mind, a state of psychological stability and composure which is undisturbed by experience or exposure to emotions, pain, or other phenomena that may cause, that may cause others to lose the balance of their mind. Okay. So the virtue and value of equanimity is extolled, as they say, is extolled by and advocated by a number of major religions and ancient philosophies. I like to use this ancient example as the best way to describe probably all four faces of love, but especially equanimity. So loving kindness is likened to the sentiment felt by a mother toward a newborn infant. In other words, may she or he be well, may he thrive. Compassion, the second face of love, is the feeling extended to a sick child. May she be free from pain and suffering. Sympathetic joy is how a mother feels towards a grown boy who leaves home to marry. Though it may be painful for me, I feel joy for him. And equanimity is how a mother might feel on hearing about her grown child's business dealings. She's attentive and caring about his welfare, not disengaged or indifferent, yet she has no emotional entanglement to the content of the news that she hears. Did you get that? Yeah, I think that's the best way to describe all four faces of love. And also something to aspire to. It doesn't mean that we're going to be able to do that every time, that's for sure. So since we have just only 10 minutes left or so, let's just do a short practice of equanimity, and we'll go deeper into equanimity next week too, okay? So let's take a good deep breath, remembering our sitting posture, tucking the chin in a bit. We just shared a lot of words, bringing our attention to the breath. And you can silently repeat to yourself these phrases. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I calm my mind. Try that for a couple of breaths. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I calm my mind. And then you can also silently repeat these phrases, and picking some that work best for you. May I be balanced. Or I wish to be balanced. May I be at peace. And allow these phrases to direct your body to relax and your mind to feel quiet. And then expand the sense of tranquility to a spacious equanimity. You may want to ask your attention to become aware of the space around you as a way to get a sense of spaciousness. Space to the right of you, to the left of you, space in front of you, space behind you, space above you, below you. Just aware of the space. And remembering impermanence. All created things rise and pass away. Joys, sorrows, pleasant and painful events, people. So it takes regular practice to be able to open and less intend to open to our thoughts, emotions, sensations. Intend to be stable, letting go of our preferences while we watch our thoughts, emotions, sensations. Another phrase to try. May I allow myself rest amidst all that is impermanent. May I allow myself rest amidst all that is impermanent. May I learn to see the arising and passing of all things with balance. May I be open and balanced and peaceful. And then turning your attention now, visualize someone that you love and repeat the same simple phrases for that person's benefit. May you learn to see the arising and passing of all things with equanimity and balance. May you be open and balanced and peaceful. Let yourself visualize other people in your life, and one by one, imagine them surrounded with peace. Continue as best you can, breathing easily, patiently, repeating the phrase, no matter what arises. And gradually, as equanimity grows, you can expand the meditation to include someone who has cared for you, a neutral person, or a difficult person, and finally, all beings everywhere. As we reflect upon each person, it's traditional to acknowledge that all beings are heirs to their own actions and receive the fruit of their actions. We care deeply for them, but we cannot live their lives for them. So if someone you care about is suffering and there's nothing that you can do to change their circumstances, you can repeat silently, I care. I care about your pain. Through this caring, may your pain be eased. I care about your pain. Through this caring, may your pain be eased. When someone you love who is engaging in self-destructive behaviors and you can't stop it, you can repeat, I wish nothing but the best for you. Your happiness depends on your actions and not my wishes for you. I wish the best for you. Your happiness depends on your actions and not my wishes for you. Intention to maintain compassion for those who are suffering while remembering that we cannot control their destiny. And returning to the essential phrases of equanimity practice. May we learn to see the arising and passing of all things with equanimity and balance. May we accept things as they are. May we be open and balanced and peaceful. May we accept things as they are. May we be open and balanced and peaceful. I'll end this meditation with a reminder of the connection between equanimity and patience. The poem by Walt Whitman, Leaves of Grass. I exist as I am. That is enough. If no other in the world be aware, I sit content. And if each and all be aware, I sit content. One world is aware, and by far the largest to me, and that is myself. And whether I come to my own today, or in 10,000 or 10 million years, I can cheerfully take it now with equal cheerfulness. I can wait. Now ring the bell to end the sit. I see that Ginny wants to say something.
I understand about accepting things the way they are and being equanimous. But I just have to say this. Now, when you say but, that undoes everything I just said. But I about had it with COVID. And I've had it with not being able to meet with my Sangha and not being able to have friendships and not getting hugs. And I'm not accepting it as it is. It's been a long one, and I'm tired of it. I miss my Sangha. I miss my hugs with my Sangha. I miss talking with people afterwards.
Yeah. I hear you. Kit, you want to say something?
Well, I sort of had the same problem during this very meeting. I got a phone call and I was so excited. What did it say? It was from Theta Care. My God, they're going to give me a vaccine. So I go and answer it. And somebody is selling a product from AT&T. That's what that call was.
Oh, no.
So my equanimity was shattered for the rest of this meeting. Oh,
No. Oh, geez. Yeah. So that, well, the ideal is that, like, we recognize the body is tense. Okay, relax. And I see that Colin put up, be happy for no reason. If you have a reason, then you're in trouble. The reason could go away. That's Deepak.
That's a good one.
Yes, it is. And well, also, it's, as Jimpo says, if you practice long enough and deep enough, you arise at unreasonable joy. Unreasonable because there's no reason for it.
So are you doing, how is that, is because you've been doing this so long that you can be happy and economist during this almost a year of COVID and isolation?
And we have not gotten to see our grandkids except on Zoom since March, so.
And are you doing this, you're doing so well because you're the teacher and you've been practicing a long
I've been
time?
practicing, you got it, yeah. Because as soon as I start to feel awful, it's like, okay, stop it.
Stop it, that's right, your famous words, stop it.
Why would I want to sit in that? It feels yucky, why, stop it.
I'm writing that down again.
Oh. Yeah,
Whoever thought we'd be so glad to get a shot too.
Yeah,
I know it. It's like, yay. I was applauding. I called my store or my doctor's office and they said, well, we don't have enough. So it's only going to be people 85 and up. Okay.
85 and up. Wow.
I know. Oh, well.
My dad's 95 and he can't get it.
Oh, gosh.
My husband is 90.
So it's
Wow.
just, no expectations, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And maybe.
Yeah, because,
someday.
well, to be upset about it is useless.
It doesn't change.
That's right. It's not going to make it any better.
Your body, and your frame of mind. But
Right,
we
right.
know it, but it's hard. It's really hard not to have. We've just been so conditioned and so,
That's
the
it.
constructs that we've just grown up with for decades
Yeah.
are there,
And
I guess if you taught young children, this way, not to have expectations, I'd really be curious when they're in, like mid-60s like me, where are they at? How are they happy? How does it work? I'd be curious. I know I've read some studies, I guess it was in some Scandinavian countries where they're doing mindfulness and meditation for young children.
Mm-hmm.
And they were already starting to see over a few years that these kids are much happier and calmer. And,
yeah.
that would be really fascinating to get immersed in something, to learn about that.
Yeah, except that it's never too late.
Oh, yeah.
No matter
Right.
how old you are.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's important to remember too.
Mm-hmm.
So we've gone a little over. I don't want to keep anybody, but if people want to stay and talk, please do. I'll stay because this is my favorite subject. Absolutely.
Sorry, Donna, you mentioned YouTube. Do you have a channel that I should?
Yeah.
What is it
Just
called?
Donna Janice, YouTube. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, what was I going to say? Kit, did you want to say something?
So during the first meditation, my connection cut off and I couldn't get back on. And I actually had to reboot my system and then start all over, go back to the email and click on the link. So I don't know what that was all about.
Ours, hey, Kit, ours cut off too.
Then what? Oh, really? So then you can find out, if you go on YouTube, you'll be able to hear it because it's being recorded.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you can get that. And then we can talk about it next week too. So, Aline?
I may have mentioned the book, The 4 Agreements before.
I think, yeah.
By Don Miguel Ruiz. His second agreement don't take anything personally is so powerful.
Yeah.
And that book really changed my life back in 2003. So if you don't have a copy of it, I recommend you read it. I mean, all the agreements are important, yet I think that one is one of the most.
What's the book? Don't take in. What's the book? The Four Agreements?
Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Okay.
Bella's last name.
Thank you, Elaine. Thank you. Holly?
Bella's last name, Elaine.
Ruiz.
Okay. So we get the opportunity now to practice, and hey, this is big practice. You know, we're dealing with a pandemic, right? This is big practice.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And
practice makes perfect, right?
that?
Because it's been so long.
I didn't hear what you said.
I said practice makes perfect.
Right. That's right. That's right. It does.
Because it's been long, a long time to practice.
Yeah.
Donna, you are a living testimony. I just can't understand. I can't understand because you do look as peaceful, calm, content as when we didn't have COVID. I mean, that's where I want to be. So that's my motivation to practice more. But I just can hardly believe that you feel that way.
Oh, that's great. Well, you know, so what I think I hear you saying is that you're because you're feeling so bad on the opposite end of it. How can it be possible? But you know, it just really is. Remember being kind to yourself. Remember being compassionate to yourself. And you know what? I also think what really helped me with that particular thing is reading Kristin Neff's book, actually immersing myself in that book, just book Self-Compassion, because that, it's like anything. Until you immerse yourself in I think the literature is what really will change you.
Okay.
Because you're just reading the words over and over again. That's partly why I keep studying happiness. And I took the course in happiness, you know, because if you're thinking, where the mind, what they say, where the mind goes, energy flows. So if that's what you're thinking about is happiness, well then, that's where your energy's going. So
I'm writing it down.
Yeah.
Was that book an easy read, or was it like a textbook where you have to really pay attention?
No, that was an easy read.
Okay.
It was, yeah. Yeah.
What's the name of it?
Just Self-Compassion. And then there's a subtitle, I forgot, but it's by Kristin Neff, N-E-F-F.
And it's engaging enough?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was well done. And it's good for you to remember that first she's done a huge amount of research on it, but she wrote the book and she did the research because she had to learn how to apply it to herself, because she had an autistic son who would act out in public. And she had to learn how to be compassionate to herself when he acted out, because everybody around her was giving her dirty looks.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. So that, I know, that helped.
She's like a guru of self-compassion,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
She's the first person to ever operationalize it. So,
Oh, I never heard that word, operationalize.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's a new word.
Okay.
Aileen, is it your friend that is going to starting chemo you mentioned before? Yeah?
Eileen?
Aileen?
Might have left.
Oh, maybe.
Eileen, did you hear?
There, but I was just going to say when I heard that, it made me feel like, who am I to feel sorry for myself?
Oh, there she is. She's muted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eileen, she's talking about you and your friend who's starting chemo tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't hear it because everything goes.
No, I just was saying that after I heard that, it kind of made me feel, I really shouldn't feel sorry for myself.
Yeah, pandemic and cancer. Yeah.
Are not working out for me, but you know, I'm not starting chemo tomorrow. So
I think you still have to work with your own feelings.
Yeah, you do.
You can feel sorry for people and whatever, but you still have to let go or somehow process or balance your own feelings.
right.
Yeah. So that's why I say learning, stopping it. Remember, you
Yep.
you know what? Who's that? Remember that study or that article a couple years ago I gave you guys? It was called "This One Skill Can Immediately Change How You Feel," and that was shifting your attention. Where attention goes, energy flows. Shifting your attention away from whatever is bothering you, and shift your attention to something else. For now, anyway. So why dwell on it? I mean, if you can't do anything about it, why dwell on it? Shift your attention, and that's a skill. Most people don't even know that you have that. It's a skill that you can develop, and that it is a skill. Yeah. So, and since the mind can only focus on one thing at a time, shifting your attention is the key. So that stop it, shift your attention, and then if it still hurts, be kind to yourself. Well, that's my recipe.
It's a good one.
And then watch Schitt's Creek at night. Has anybody watched that? Oh my God, is that funny? I wasn't going to watch it because I thought this is really stupid when I saw the preview. But then somebody, Ray Shin, a friend of mine, said it was hilarious. So I thought, I got to start. And now we're addicted. We have to watch 2 shows every night. That helps. So you sit and laugh, you know.
Same here. You know, the wording put me off. I'm like, really? Wow.
Me
But
too.
when I started watching it,
It's
I was
hilarious.
laughing out loud, which was like awesome.
Yeah. Really.
So that's my plan tonight. I'm going to go to episode maybe 4 through 8,
There you go.
season 1,
Yeah.
because the first 4 were just so funny and I enjoyed them.
It really is funny. Yeah, it's really funny.
Ah.
And okay, well, the final thing I'll say is, if you guys were happy that Joe Biden won, and you like Stephen Colbert, if you go to his show the night that he won, he did this video after video of people rejoicing, video after video after video, and it was so. I mean, I ended up with tears of giggling joy watching these people just so effervescent. So if you want to just see people having joyful rejoicing, just watch that. It's just wonderful.
Yeah, I think Dennis and I watched that, and these were actual people all over the United States and world, wasn't it?
Well, some of it's old stuff too, because you could tell it was.
Oh, okay.
But still, it didn't matter. It was people rejoicing. It was just wonderful.
Yeah.
So if you want to feel better, just watch a bunch of people rejoicing. So anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you all for staying on. It's been great.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
I love
Virtual hugs to everybody.
Yeah, everybody stay.
And hug yourself. You can hug yourself.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.